Hello book nerds, welcome to Bookshelf Bunny. I'm Kim and this is the Picture This book tag. Hey guys, so I was tagged in this by the amazing Tatiana over at Tatiana Reads, and I highly recommend checking out her channel. In particular, my favorites are her review videos. She really dives in deep, and I very much appreciate them. So check out Tatiana Reads. There will be links in the description below. Well, let's jump into it with our first question. Love You Forever by Robert Munsch and illustrated by Sheila McGraw. Name a book you imagine you'll love forever. Stephen King's It, of course. That is a running favorite so far, and it hasn't yet fallen off the favorites list, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it forever. Number 2, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, Very Bad Day by Judith Viorst and illustrated by Ray Cruz. Which books or comforting things do you turn to when you're having a bad day? When I'm having a really bad day, usually I can't even bring myself to read, which is really sad. That's when you know it's a really bad day. And a comforting thing for me is my bunnies, my 3 little monsters, Jack, Ahsoka, and Loki. I also very much enjoy wrapping myself into a burrito with my Nightmare Before Christmas throw blanket to sit on my chair and doom scroll when I'm miserable, because that's productive. The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. Which book, series, or character sparked your hunger for reading? It was actually neither of those things, although the biggest contributor was probably Goosebumps, the Goosebumps series. That's when I really became absorbed into books. But the thing that sparked my hunger for reading is actually the act of reading itself. My earliest memories of reading are that I was very, very bad at it. I remember being so scared that I would never be able to understand what all of the letters meant, and that I would be doomed to never be able to read. And that day where it finally started to click, that's when I started reading everything and anything I could get my hands on. Number 3, Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. What is the most unusual book you have read? Oh, that's a tough question. I've read a lot of unusual books. A lot. I feel like what's freshest in my mind is probably this one. This is the most recent unusual book I've read. John Dies at the End by Jason Pargini? Pargin? Jason Pargin. This book is crazy and I loved it, but it is definitely all over the place. Thoroughly enjoyed it though. I would recommend picking it up. To give you an example of how crazy this book is, there's literally a scene where our protagonists are shouting at a dog named Molly to shit out a bomb. And I'll just leave you with that. Read this. Number 5, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. What is your favorite book featuring the natural world? That's actually really easy. It's a book called The Hatchet, and off the top of my head, I can't think of who the author is. I read it when I was in elementary school like a zillion years ago, and it's always stood out to me as being an amazing survival story. But more than that, it takes place in the Canadian wilderness, and everything about that has always been intriguing to me. From the flies eating him up to the beaver, no, I think it was a porcupine that he encounters in his cave. Everything about that book I was in love with. Number 6, Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown and illustrated by Clement Hurd. Do you read at bedtime? Did anyone ever read to you at bedtime? I do read at bedtime. I have read at bedtime for as long as I can remember. In fact, I'm pretty sure my need for glasses is self-inflicted because I wasn't supposed to read after lights out. But I had a dimmer switch and I would dim it to the lowest possible setting so that you could not see the light under my closed door. And I would read for hours and hours. I also used to read. When that failed, I would, or if I got caught and okay, fine, the light's out for real this time, Mom, I had a basement bedroom and it had like a windowsill, and a little ways back was a street light, and I would sit up in this windowsill. I would angle my book to try to catch the light, and I'm probably screwed up my own eyes doing this. So yes, I do read at bedtime. Now, did anyone ever read to me at bedtime? I don't really have a lot of memories of that. I'm sure somebody did at some point, probably my parents, but it was not an event that really stood out to me, and I don't have memories of this. Number 7, Guess How Much I Love You by Sam McBratney and illustrated by Anita Jarem. Who had the biggest influence on you as a reader? That's tough. Who had the biggest influence on me as a reader? I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe my mom. She read a lot too, once upon a time. I used to read her Stephen King books in my preteen years. And when I ran out of books to read of hers, I stole all her Archies and read those. The Giving Tree by Sheila Silverstein. Which book or books would you give to an emerging reader? Which book have you given as a gift more than once? The answer to this is twofold. It's actually the exact same answer for both questions, and that's Goosebumps. And probably just for the sheer sake of nostalgia, Goosebumps was a fan favorite for me. And it's just fun stories with a twist. And I feel like a young, emerging reader would really, really gravitate towards those even today. He's got all sorts of new Goosebump series out there. R.L. Stine just pumps them out, and they still are around today. So I would say Goosebumps. And same for the second part of the question. I have given Goosebumps books as gifts more than once. My niece, I've given her quite a few. I collect Goosebump books, and whenever I get a duplicate, I either put it in my little free library or offer it up to my niece. I've done that a few times. But for an emerging reader who is an adult, I would recommend something that fits the genre that they're into, and that's why that's a hard question. Young readers, Goosebumps is pretty easy. But as you grow and as you develop your own tastes, it's a lot harder to make that recommendation to an emerging reader. So I would first have to find out, what do you like? What kind of movies, stories, TV shows do you gravitate towards? And then I'd have to find something within that genre to recommend to you. So that's my answer. Yes. Okay, book nerds, that's it. I will tag you if you are watching this right now. Consider yourself tagged. And if you are watching this and feel the desire to also do this tag video, please make sure you tag me in your description with that little @ sign, and then I will be able to watch your video. All right, that's all I got for you. And as always, happy reading.